book and thought that could never happen. Okay, for the most part, you're right. After all, animals don't speak English to each other. However, the chance of a human child living with and being raised by wild animals is actually much higher than you might know. From cats and dogs to monkeys and goats, you'll be surprised by these kids who survived thanks to their non-human friends. Be sure to pay attention to each entry because we want to hear your responses to our quiz. It's animal related and the best answer will be pinned for everyone else to see. So, be creative. Now make sure to use those opposable thumbs and click that subscribe button with your mouse before we head off to see what the Jungle Book looks like in real life. The Ostrich Boy. If you were a child and lost in the desert, you'd think that would spell the end. Not necessarily. In the early 20th century, 2-year-old Hadara became separated from his parents in the Sahara Desert. Incredibly, the young boy was adopted by ostriches, not an animal you'd normally associate with raising humans. For 10 years, Hadara reportedly lived with his long-legged bird family. At the age of 12, he was discovered and reintegrated back into human society, where he eventually married and passed on his incredible story. Hey, hey, we're the monkeys. The whole idea that primates could raise a human isn't new. After all, Tarzan anyone? When 2-year-old John Sesbunya watched his father murder his mother, he feared he was next and ran into the forest of Uganda. There, survival seemed bleak until a group of green vervet monkeys adopted the runaway as one of their own. For 3 years, Sesbunya lived with his new family. The monkeys taught him how to survive in the jungle until 3 years later when he was found and reintegrated back into society. By then, he preferred raw foods and had forgotten how to walk. All cooped up. What happens when you spend your childhood locked in a chicken coop? Sujit Kumar is proof that you start to imitate your environment. After being locked in with chickens for several years by his grandfather, the Fijian's behavior changed dramatically. He was aggressive, pecked at his food, and crouched down like a roosting chicken. Those taking care of him reported that Kumar's fingers were curled inwards from clawing at the ground, and he even made a strange clicking sound when he tried to communicate. We can't be 100% sure the chickens raised him, but he definitely picked up most of his behaviors from the feathered friends. A dog's life. They say dogs are man's best friend. We're pretty sure in the case of Ivan Mishukov, they are also a boy's best friend. When he was just 4 years old, Mishukov ran away from home. He likely would have died if not for the pack of street dogs that adopted him. The Moscow boy quickly became leader of the pack as he was the one who could successfully beg for food. In return, the dogs protected Mishukov and kept him warm during the cold nights. 2 years after taking to the streets, he was picked up by the police, after which he had to relearn how to communicate with other humans. The Wolf Boy. In the early 1970s, an Indian farmer was traveling home when he saw a strange sight. In the forest, he spotted a young boy crawling around on all fours playing with a pack of wolf cubs. After a fight, the farmer captured the boy and took him back to a nearby village. Little could be discovered about the boy, known only as Shamdio. Judging by his sharpened teeth, long curled fingernails, scars, and calloused hands and knees, many believe Shamdio was raised by wolves in the forest. He preferred raw meat and bones, and even by the time he died in 1985, he could only communicate with very basic hand signals. Okay, so having seen a few different types of animals that have raised and aided human beings, we have a question for you. If you could no longer be a human, which animal would you choose to turn into? Think about it for a while you watch the next 5 entries, because we'd like to hear your answers. The Feral Boy of Borneo. For 2 years, villagers of the Malaysian island of Borneo reported seeing a feral boy. However, anytime anyone approached him, the boy would take off deeper into the forest. In 2014, after an extensive hunt, the authorities managed to track down the child. Interestingly, he appeared to have been adopted by a group of orangutans who tried to protect him when police moved in. Even after separating him from the animals, nobody has a clue who or how old this child is. Marina and the Monkeys. When she was around 4, Marina Chapman was reportedly involved in a botched kidnapping, which resulted in her being left in the forest by herself. For several years, she lived on her own. Well, not entirely. You see, Chapman was effectively adopted by a group of capuchin monkeys. By watching the monkeys, she survived thanks to mimicking their behavior and eating the things they ate. As part of the group, the capuchins would drop berries and bananas from the trees, making it easier for Chapman to eat. Despite medical experts stating they believe her story, most people have a hard time believing her stories, which sound like they're straight out of a Disney film. The Goat Boy. When he was abandoned in the mountains as a small child, things looked bleak for the boy known only as Daniel. Fortunately, he crossed paths with a herd of wild Peruvian goats that he ended up living with for 8 years. During that time, Daniel allegedly lived off of berries and milk from nursing female goats. When hikers found him in 1990, the 12-year-old had no language skills and walked on all fours. Interestingly, researchers concluded that Daniel had actually developed an ability to communicate with the goats. Cats. You wouldn't think of cats as the type of animal to raise a human, but there is actually one case that comes pretty close. In Argentina, the authorities actually stumbled across a boy who was living with a pack of street cats. No one knows just how long the 1-year-old had been out on the streets, but he likely survived thanks to 8 cats. The felines reportedly brought him scraps of food, cleaned him, and curled up with him at night to keep him warm. So, how did they apprehend this cat boy? Details are sparse given the age of the boy, but we bet a laser pointer and a bag of catnip came into play. Bello and the chimps. Known as the Nigerian chimp boy, Bello had been born with mental and physical disabilities. As a result, he was left in the forest by his parents at just 6 months of age. In 1996, a group of people stumbled across a small child living with a group of chimpanzees in the Falgore forest in Nigeria. Bello had been adopted by the primates. However, raised in the wild from such a young age meant Bello acted just like a chimp. Even by the time he died in 2005, this boy still moved and made noises learned during his upbringing in the forest. Alright, so, have you decided which animal you would be if you couldn't be a human? If there isn't one animal that does it for you, feel free to mix things up and create your own hybrid creature. Being creative will earn you more points. Once you're done, be sure to check out our other animal-related videos at The Richest. From the terrifying to the heartwarming, we've got a little something for everyone. Remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on our newest releases, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye!